name is Ryan Cam with Flight Risk, a new movie directed by Mel Gibson coming out this weekend. And with me checking off bucket list items of movies I want to review, it's time to check off another one off of the bucket list, and one that I've loved for years and I recently rewatched for Flight Risk and fell in love with it all over again. It's Apocalypto. Apocalypto was directed by Mel Gibson and it was released in 2006. It tells the story of a man named Jaguar Paw who lives with his father, Flint Sky, and Jaguar Paw's family in a little village just outside of the main Mayan civilization. The movie takes place in and around the time of the collapse of the Mayan civilization. Just based off of a quick Google search, it's safe to assume this takes place around the mid to late 1600s. But one night, or one morning, excuse me, the village is attacked by a group of Mayan raiders led by Zero Wolf, and the remaining men of the village are taken back to the main Mayan city to be either sacrificed or used as fodder for games. Mel Gibson has a pretty consistent track record when it comes to directing. Braveheart, Hacksaw Ridge, among others. Like, the dude is rock solid as a director, which is why I'm very much looking forward to Flight Risk. But Apocalypto is a movie that just seems like it's a movie that, A, it's a miracle it even got made, and B, you would think Mel Gibson wouldn't want anything to do with it. Think about it just in the context, even in 2006, how wild this is. It's a movie that takes place in, let's be generous, the late 1600s in the Mayan civilization, a civilization that has since been long dead and only being remembered in history books. And what's even worse, the movie is told completely in the dialect of ancient Mayan. There's not a lick of English to be found in this one. By all accounts, this should have died a death. But not only did the movie make its budget back, but it was profitable, making about $120-ish million on a $40 million budget. That would never happen today by any means. But it's low-key kind of a miracle that Apocalypto even exists. It's a good thing too, because this movie absolutely crushes. Because this is about the Mayan civilization and the little villages surrounding it, it would be easy to lose sight of a general story, but the movie's pretty straightforward in terms of its general narrative. It follows Jaguar Paw, who is on his way to becoming a man, is thrust into a situation where he has to become a man very fast, and then take revenge on the people that ruined his life, and then pick up the pieces and start life over again with his wife and children. The focus on that emotional tether just leading you along is really what keeps the movie on track. It's kind of similar to what Christopher Nolan did with Interstellar. That movie could have gone way off base with space stuff and all that other things, but the real crux of Interstellar is a man leaving home to do a job and coming back. And it takes way too long for him to get back, but he eventually gets back. Kind of similar to what happens with Apocalypto. And I'm not comparing Apocalypto and Interstellar. I'm just saying the story structures for me personally were similar. That's just me, though. This is very much an action movie, and the action in this movie is just a sight to behold. In my research, I found out that Mel Gibson wanted to do this movie because he felt the action genre was getting pretty stale, and he wanted to do something different. And I mean, this is what different looks like, all right. He also tried his hardest to stay away from CG, and there are CG shots in here. With what Gibson was trying to accomplish, I imagine that CG was a tool that needed to be used in order to get the result that he wanted. It's not the entire canvas, it's labeled, not labeled, but it's used throughout in smaller places. Like to see an arrow fly by somebody's head. That is very clearly CGI. The rest of the time, it looks like there's actual sets. This film was actually shot on location in Mexico, and it really shows. The movie's, like I said, outside of Jaguar Paw's story, the general message is trying to capture a civilization in decline. One of the most striking visuals for me personally was when Jaguar Paw and his kin are being led into the main city, and you see these people working in not a salt mine, but a mine of some kind. They're trying to find this stone, but it's very white stone, and you can tell that it's not good that these people are inhaling this stuff because one of the workers legitimately spits up blood, and it's not only striking visually, but it turned my stomach a little bit. There are many shots in this movie where I just felt like sick to my stomach. There are several scenes where you see a field of dead bodies or just violence in general where you just feel unsettled. I've heard some criticisms that Mel Gibson's movies are too violent, and I can kind of understand, but Gibson, to me at least, always portrayed it in a way where it's genuinely heartbreaking that it's happening. And that goes double with Apocalypto. There are generally a lot of very heartbreaking scenes throughout. Really, the ending of this movie, though, is the thing that I would recommend checking out the most. I was debating whether or not to spoil what happens, and I won't go too deep into it, but I'll just do general I won't go too deep, but I will spoil what happens. Basically, Jaguar Paw escapes. He fends off the Mayan warriors through the power of the jungle. He sicks a jaguar on one of them, an actual jaguar, and the jaguar bites one of the warriors' faces to the point where you hear the skull snap. That's insane right there. Then a snake bites one of them in a really insane way. This one warrior who taunts Jaguar throughout the entire time, he gets his comeuppance. He gets a head wound which spits out blood like a fountain. That's a sick visual. And then it's Jaguar Paw versus the last two. They stumble upon a beach. They turn around and they see ships, specifically Spanish ships. And I don't think I need to tell you what happens there, but it's subtly one of the more darker endings of an action movie I've probably ever seen. I had like one nit to pick with this one. It's a bit too long for my taste, but generally it doesn't really affect my enjoyment any further than that. It's more of a notice of like, oh boy, we're really getting far into this, aren't we? The movie is 2 hours and 18 minutes long, and I feel like maybe if in even 2 hours, or maybe 2 hours 10, it would have been fine. But again, it doesn't kill my enjoyment of the movie. It's still getting an amazing grade from me. If you have not seen Apocalypto, do yourself a favor and watch it. It's on Tubi. You will thank me when you are done. But I pass it off to all of you. What did you think of Apocalypto if you've seen it? Let me know in the comments. I would love to read what you have to say. My name is Ryan Cam, and I'll see you in the next one.